The Infinix GT20 Pro is the easiest Infinix phone I can recommend to anyone, especially if you are a gamer. We have reviewed other Infinix phones for the past 2 years and most of them were more affordable than this phone. While the prices were competitive at that time, Infinix was relatively new in the local market. They would offer good features for the price, but the real-world experience wasn't enough to make it a solid choice over Poco phones. With the arrival of the GT20 Pro, they bumped the price a little bit, stole some marketing tactics from Xiaomi, and offered a familiar but overall improved and better experience than before. In the Philippines, the GT20 Pro comes with a price of 15,999 pesos for the sole model of 12 and 256GB of storage. During its initial release last month, Infinix gave an early bird discount that lowered the price to 13,999, a familiar marketing tactic Poco and Xiaomi have been doing for the past few years. The reason, however, why the GT20 Pro is the second best value gaming phone right now is because of the Poco X6 Pro that launched earlier this January. If you shop online, the Poco X6 Pro sells a bit cheaper than the mall price while offering faster charging speed and the latest Dimensity 8300 Ultra, boasting 30% more performance than the GT20 Pro's 8200. Of course, you already know that. I'm not saying go buy the X6 Pro because it's better, but rather the GT20 Pro is something I can recommend if you don't mind looking for an alternative to Poco devices. As far as the claims of Infinix go, the GT20 Pro delivers in performance whether it's simple day-to-day browsing or heavy gaming. I know you've seen tons of gaming coverage out there, especially the overused Genshin Impact gameplay, but in my case, I've been playing a few games with it. Octopath Traveler is not a demanding game for this phone with its 2D style graphics, not to mention the 30 FPS lock, but firing up a not so demanding game means less power consumption. Playing at least an hour every day, I averaged 5 hours of active use together with my daily normal browsing and watching tasks. However, that active screen time was with the phone running for a day and a half without needing to charge. Without gaming, I easily average 6 hours of screen time in a day. With demanding games like GTA San Andreas and Warzone Mobile, which I've been playing as of late, the screen time does take a hit. Playing Warzone comes with a little dip in frames or stutters, but it's mostly stable at 45 frames at max resolution. The same applies to GTA San Andreas and maxed out settings. Although there are occasional frame dips, it wasn't enough to spoil the gaming experience. As for that 5000 mAh battery, the charging rate goes up to 45 watts. In my testing from 1% to 100%, the phone required only an hour flat. Regarding software, XOS is already based on Android 14, but Infinix only promised up to Android 16 and a year of security updates after that. It is what it is, but XOS has improved quite a bit since a year ago. I'm seeing no lags or stutters on the GT20 Pro, mostly because of the powerful chipset and spacious RAM. However, they improved nothing as far as home screen customization goes, since there's no option to get rid of multiple icons at once, and adding an icon to the home screen with an easy tap and drag is still a long tap and send to desktop kind of thing. One thing I noticed is the addition of a dynamic lock screen feature. Albeit limited to pre-built lock screens, it's still nice to see Infinix adding it. The built-in themes look better than ever, but if there's one thing I like them to improve on is the animation frame rate to be at least 60Hz, because 30Hz looks stuttery and slow for a phone this fast. I did say XOS is better than before, but it still needs some polishing. Like for example, I want to see the phone running at a high refresh rate when I have an app in picture-in-picture mode, because Infinix locks it to 60Hz and again, it looks stuttery and slow for a phone this fast. The one and most annoying bug I found though involves apps freezing and requiring to close and restart the apps. It randomly happens, but it happens so often that it can get annoying. Mostly this happens to Facebook, Messenger, and sometimes Twitter, but yeah, it happens at least twice a day. If there's one thing that feels slow, well, not really slow but inadequate for a phone of this caliber, it's the Fingerprint Scanner. I've tried a lot of in-display fingerprint scanners and mostly around this price range as well, but this feels a bit slower than the rest. Let's talk about the screen. The GT20 Pro is a tad larger than your typical smartphone with its 6.78 inches display and close in a squared frame. It goes up to 144Hz but supports a dynamic refresh rate for as low as 30Hz and shows no visibility problems outdoors, but the peak brightness in HDR reaches up to 1300 nits. The resolution, however, stays at 1080p as opposed to the 1200p of the competition. This may be noticeable to some, but not really to most. And as far as the color goes, it's an AMOLED panel with over 1 billion colors to support, so it's vibrant like any other AMOLEDs. Watching videos at their best quality won't be a problem here. In addition, I noticed it's easier to use gestures on the GT20 Pro than any other non-curved phone I've tested. Apparently, the display is slightly raised above its frame so you can feel the curved edge of the screen. I know it's a small thing, but I like the small details, especially for someone used to gestures. As for the rest of the design, the Infinix GT20 Pro is your typical gaming phone with LEDs on the back. What I have here is the Mecha Silver color that hides fingerprint smudges well and shines with a hint of blue. The LEDs on the back are made up of two strips segmented into several parts to enable certain effects and patterns, meaning the rest are just stickers underneath the plastic panel to go along with. You can customize the lights to do certain effects, but you're limited to choosing predefined patterns and hues. It's not as flexible as choosing between three main colors, so the available hues are white, orange, purple, and blue. As far as functionality goes, you're limited to notifications, calls, and bragging rights when playing music or games. Despite the all-plastic body of the GT20 Pro, it carries an IP54 rating for dust and splash water resistance. What's worth noting though is the unboxing experience. When it comes to value gaming phones, Infinix may just be the best in the unboxing experience category. Aside from the unique packaging, the company even added tempered glass as a freebie and a free case. This harsher plastic case looks and feels good. It's not ultra thin, but it's slimmer than your typical case. Then we have the cameras. There are the three sensors at the back, but the other two are just 2 megapixel cameras for depth and macro. The main shooter is a 108 megapixel Samsung HMS6 sensor, while the selfie camera is a 32 megapixel sensor capable of recording up to 1440p video. The camera quality is okay. Sometimes it's possible to get shots with good colors and sharpness, but most of the time they are soft and bland. I mean, you need to be in good shooting conditions since the auto white balance can get inaccurately crazy. Infinix continues to exclude ultra-wide cameras, but the main camera is actually wider than your typical main shooter, perhaps to compensate for the lack of ultra-wide. There is a bit of over-sharpening that reminds me of Huawei cameras from 5 years ago, but it actually looks fine. If there's bad over-sharpness, I think this is good over-sharpness. Again, this is not a camera phone. Most people should be aware of that when buying this phone. In a way, it reminds me of the Poco X4 GT that came out with an incredible gaming experience, but with nearly forgettable camera quality. Relatively speaking though, the cameras on the GT20 Pro are useful by today's standards. Oh, and the haptic feedback? Not too strong, but it's sharp and feels good when typing. That's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel. And as always, until the next one, stay safe.